Have you ever wondered why the wealthiest men still get cheated on, rejected, or ghosted, while some men with far less seem to effortlessly win the hearts of the most amazing women? It's confusing, right? Because we've been told that if you have money, you'll have everything. But what if I told you that money is just a piece of the puzzle and that there are 6 things women secretly love more than money? In this video, you're going to discover what those things are and how to master them. Using the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers who ever lived. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more powerful insights on Stoic philosophy, psychology, and modern relationships, and watch till the end, because what you're about to learn could completely transform your love life. Let me take you back. The year is 175. A.D., Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor philosopher, and one of the most powerful men in the world, is writing in his journal, what would later become meditations. He's not writing for the public, he's not trying to look smart. He's writing for himself, for clarity, for truth. Despite ruling an empire, leading armies, and having unimaginable wealth, Marcus Aurelius was not obsessed with power or money. Why? Because he understood something. Most men today don't, the things that truly attract loyalty, love. Why Stoic attraction isn't about performance and admiration from others, especially women, are internal, and those internal qualities, they're more powerful than any luxury car or black MX card. Let's dive into the 6 things women secretly love more than money, and the Stoic wisdom that helps you master each of them. I can see emotional control. Do you remember the first time you truly fell for someone, not just a crush, but that deep soul, tingling kind of love? Maybe it was the way she laughed at your terrible jokes, or how she looked at you like you were the only man in the world. Maybe it was a simple moment, walking hand in hand at sunset, or lying on the couch, her head on your chest. No words, just presence. Now let me ask you this, where did it all go wrong? Think about it for a second. Was it something you did, something she said, or was it the way you reacted when things didn't go your way? You see, most love stories don't end because the love disappears. They end because emotions take over: anger, jealousy, insecurity, fear. Suddenly you're not speaking to her, you're speaking at her, you raise your voice, you say things you don't mean, and she looks at you differently. That sparkle in her eyes gone, because now she's no longer feeling safe. She's questioning if the man she fell for is still there. This is where Marcus Aurelius comes in. Marcus wasn't just a philosopher, he was an emperor, a man responsible for an entire empire, leading armies, making life or death decisions daily. And yet in his writings, he constantly reminded himself of one truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Read that again. You can't control what she says. You can't control if she leaves. You can't control her mood, her past, or her fears. But you can control your response. When you master your emotions, you become the eye of the storm, calm, centered, powerful. And that, my friend, is the kind of man women never forget. So now, I want you to think back. Was there a time when you let your anger push her away? Did you ever say something in a heated moment that still haunts you today? It's okay, we've all been there. But now you get a second chance. Not with her, maybe, but with the next woman. Or more importantly, with yourself. Emotional control doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. It means you master them. It means when she tests you, because you stay grounded. It means when life throws you curveballs, you don't break, you bend. And the beauty one, emotional control over chaos of this. Women feel it. They feel the strength in your silence. They feel the safety in your steadiness. And they trust it. Because in a world full of impulsive, emotional men, the one who stays calm is king. So ask yourself, next time she pulls away, next time she says something hurtful, next time your pride wants to explode, will you react or will you respond like a Stoic? Because the man who wins her heart is the man who can hold his own. And if you're still with me, that means something inside. You already know this is true. You're not here by accident. You're here because your story is still being written. And brother, the next chapter? It starts with emotional control. 2. Purpose. As you remember her smile, the way she leaned in when you talked, that night she whispered, "I've never felt this way before." It felt like magic, didn't it? You were in love not just with her, but with the idea of her, with the feeling she gave you. But then something changed. She grew distant, short text, less time you asked if something was wrong. She said, "I don't know, it's not you. I just feel like something's missing." And you were confused. You thought you were doing everything right. You gave her attention, time, even money when she needed it. But here's the thing, nobody tells you. Love doesn't live in comfort. It breathes in movement, and women, they don't fall in love with a man. They fall in love with his mission. Let me ask you something right now. If someone asked you, "What's your purpose?" what would you say? Would you have an answer? Would you say, "I want to be rich," or "I want to be successful"? Or would you say, "I'm building something meaningful, I'm chasing something bigger than myself"? You see, when a man is walking his path, when he's locked in focused building, becoming, that's when women feel most drawn to him, not because he's ignoring them, but because his presence carries direction. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor of Rome, didn't sit on his throne drinking wine all day. He lived with intensity, writing in his journal by candlelight, reminding himself every day, do not waste what remains of your life in too purpose-driven life, speculating about others. It is not your job to direct the universe, but to direct your own steps. Purpose isn't about being busy, it's about moving with intention. Let me tell you a story. Maybe it's yours, or maybe it's every man's. There was once a guy deeply in love. He made her laugh, he cooked for her. They talked for hours, but as the months passed, she started asking questions. What do you want to do with your life? Where are you going? And he'd smile, shrug, say something like, I'm still figuring it out. She waited, she supported, but deep inside her heart began to drift, not because he was a bad man, but because he had no map, no fire. And one day she said goodbye, not because she didn't love him, but because he didn't love something bigger than her. Women want to feel your purpose. They want to walk beside a man who's going somewhere, even if they don't know where the road leads. So let me ask you, what are you building? What wakes you up in the morning when no one's watching? What would you die for if you had to? What would you suffer for proudly? Because when you find that, when you stop living just for weekends and pleasure and approval, and you start living for a mission, women feel it, they respect it, and they desire it deeply. So don't chase her, chase your purpose, because when you're aligned with your mission, the right woman doesn't run from you. She runs to you through self-discipline. Have you ever looked in the mirror after a breakup and thought, was it me? Maybe you replayed every moment, every text left on read, every argument that ended with silence, every time she looked at you like she was searching for the man you used to be. You loved her. You would have done anything for her. You thought love alone would be enough. But love without discipline is like a car with no fuel. It looks good, but it's not going anywhere. Let me tell you a story. Maybe this is your story too. There was a time you were motivated, hungry, you worked out, you had a plan, you were building something, you were the man she first fell in love with, and then slowly comfort crept in. You stopped waking up early, you skipped the gym, you delayed 3 non-reactive masculine frame, your dreams telling yourself, she loves me, that's enough. But something in her eyes began to change. She started losing respect, not because she stopped loving you, but because you started losing yourself. You see, women don't just love who you are. They fall in love with what you stand for. And nothing screams strength louder than self-discipline. Marcus Aurelius said, "Just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter." He didn't care about applause or reward. He cared about showing up daily for himself. Self-discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about consistency. It's about doing the hard thing when no one is watching, waking up at 5 a.m., even when you're tired, turning off Netflix and working on your goals, saying no to short-term pleasure to protect long-term purpose. Let me ask you something. How would she look at you now if she saw you living with discipline again, if she saw you focused, driven, refusing to waste your potential? How would she feel watching you grow into the man you promised you'd become? Because here's the secret. Self-discipline isn't just attractive. It's irresistible. It shows a woman that you respect yourself. And a man who respects himself automatically commands respect from others, including her when you stop chasing dopamine and start chasing excellence. Everything changes. Your energy shifts. Your presence deepens. Your eyes tell a different story, not of regret or neediness, but of purpose and control. And maybe she'll feel that shift. Maybe she'll say to herself, "He's different now, he's back." But whether she comes back or not doesn't matter, because you're not doing it for her. You're doing it for you. You're rebuilding the man who wakes up early, who honors his word, who makes himself proud, even in silence. That's the man she misses. That's the man the world needs. So ask yourself today, not, does she still love me? Ask, do I still love the man I've become? Because once you answer that, everything else falls into place. For Stoic confidence. Have you ever been with her, but not really there, physically in the room? Maybe sitting next to her phone in hand, but your mind was somewhere else. Work, stress, worries, or maybe scrolling through Instagram while she spoke, hoping she wouldn't notice you weren't fully with her. Now, think back to the beginning. 4 deep grounded presents, when you were all in, when every word she said made you lean closer, when you looked her in the eyes like she was the only thing that mattered in the universe. She felt it then. Your presence, that sacred attention, the kind that said, "I see you, you matter to me." But over time, that presence faded, and one day she pulled away, not because she stopped loving you, but because she stopped feeling you. You see, presence isn't just being there, it's being alive in the moment. It's what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, "Confine yourself to the present." So simple but so hard, right? You get distracted, you get pulled into your thoughts, you worry about tomorrow, regret yesterday, and miss right now, the one place love actually lives. Let me share a story. There was a man who adored his woman. He'd say, "I love you." Every morning he bought gifts, took her out, but something was missing and she felt it. He'd be on his phone at dinner, he'd half listen when she shared her heart. He thought he was doing enough, but one night she looked at him and asked, "Where did you go? You're right here, but I can't feel you anymore." That sentence shattered him, because in that moment he realized she wasn't asking for more things. She was asking for more him, his presence, his attention, his soul. And maybe this hits close to home for you too. Maybe the woman you loved started feeling like she was competing with your phone, your distractions, your thoughts. Not because you didn't love her, but because you forgot that love only breathes in the now real presence. Is when you look her in the eyes, and everything else disappears when you listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart. When she can feel your energy, your focus, your stillness. And here's the truth. Most men miss. Presence is rare, and women crave it in a world full of noise and distractions. The man who can sit still, lock eyes and feel the moment is the man she remembers forever. So let me ask you, when was the last time you gave a woman your undivided presence? No phones, no stress, no multitasking. Just you open real fully there if the answer hurts. And good, because now you have the power to change it. From this moment forward, decide to be present, not just with her, but with yourself, with life, with the little moments that matter. Because when you return to presence, you don't just win her heart again, you win 5 unshakable integrity yourself. Back 5 integrity when she left or when things started falling apart. How did you feel when you were alone? I don't mean alone in a room full of people. I mean that raw, echoing silence when the texts stop, when her scent fades from your hoodie, when you lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she's moved on. Did it break you or did it wake you? You see, most men are terrified of solitude. We chase connection. We fear silence. We beg for attention. Not because we're weak, but because we never learned how to be whole on our own. Now think back. Remember when you first met her? You had your own vibe, your own space, your own rhythm. You weren't desperate, you weren't chasing, you were just being you. And that's what drew her in. But over time, something shifted. You became more about her and less about you, your identity, wrapped around her affection, and when she pulled away, so did your sense of self. That's where Marcus Aurelius gives us gold. He said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Let that hit you. He's telling you that solitude isn't your enemy. It's your power. You see, when you become comfortable in your own company, everything changes. You stop needing women and start attracting them because confidence isn't loud. It's silent. It's a man sitting alone in peace, not because he's lonely, but because he's complete. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who went through heartbreak. It shattered him. He spiraled. He looked for rebounds. He begged. He cried. He drank too much, trying to escape the ache until one day he stopped running. He sat alone in silence and it hurt, but he stayed, and over time something magical happened. He started to hear himself again. He picked up his old passions. He journaled. He hit the gym. He took long walks without music, just thoughts. He began to rebuild, and one day he looked in the mirror and saw a man. Again, not a half. Not a broken piece, but a full, grounded, unshakable man. That's what women secretly crave. A man who doesn't chase validation. A man who isn't afraid to be alone because he knows he's enough. So, let me ask you. Now, can you sit in silence and still feel powerful? Can you be alone on a Friday night and feel complete? Not because you're numb, but because you're whole. If you can learn that, if you can master solitude, you'll never beg for love again, because love will be drawn to the man who doesn't need it to feel alive. Remember, solitude isn't a prison. It's a temple. It's where your power is reborn. And once you reclaimed that 6th presence, do you remember the first time you saw her cry? Maybe it was over something small, a bad day, a painful memory, something you didn't even fully understand. But in that moment, you held her. You didn't have to say much. You just were there, calm, strong, steady, and she melted into you, not because you fixed anything, but because she felt safe in your energy. Now let me ask you this. Did she feel the same when you were angry, when you were anxious, when you lashed out, raised your voice, or shut down completely? Did she still feel safe? Or did your emotional waves start to drown her? You see, one of the deepest secrets most men never learn is this: women don't. 6 quiet. Confidence, not needy validation, fall in love with chaos. They fall in love with calm. Not the fake kind of calm, the silent treatment, the cold shoulder, or bottling it all up until you explode. I'm talking about real emotional control. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." And that, right there, is the core of masculine energy. Let me tell you a story that may sound familiar. There was once a man in love, deep love. They had good days, bad days, but one night she said something that struck a nerve. It wasn't meant to hurt him, but it did. Instead of pausing, he snapped. He raised his voice and slammed a door, maybe even left the room, and in that moment he saw it. Her eyes didn't show fear. They showed disappointment. not because he was angry, but because the man she leaned on wasn't there anymore. And in the silence that followed, he realized something painful. She didn't need him to be perfect. She needed him to be anchored. You see, emotional control isn't about not feeling, it's about feeling everything, but choosing how you respond. It's the difference between saying, "I'm upset, let's talk when I'm calm," and saying, "Whatever, do what you want, I don't care," where one shows strength, the other shows weakness. Wearing armor, women are wired to feel energy. They don't need you to cry every day or suppress your emotions. What they crave is a man who can contain the storm without sinking the ship. So let me ask you, how do you handle anger? How do you move through stress, heartbreak, frustration? Do you control your emotions, or do they control you? Because here's the truth. A woman will trust her heart with a man who has mastered his own, the man who can sit in discomfort and choose peace, the man who doesn't let ego or impulse dictate his actions. That's the man she respects. That's the man she stays for. So today, don't just aim to be the strongest man in the room. Be the calmest, the most grounded, the one who doesn't flinch when life shakes, because emotional control isn't just a stoic virtue. It's the secret doorway to unshakable love. Short story of the two men. Let me tell you a story. Two men walk into a restaurant. One wears a $10,000 watch-tailored suit and final stoic takeaway, plus action steps, drops his keys to a Ferrari on the table. He orders the most expensive bottle of wine, brags about his business, and constantly checks his phone. The other wears simple clothes. He doesn't talk much, but when he does, people listen. He looks everyone in the eye when he speaks to the waitress. He smiles and uses her name when he listens. It's like the world slows down by the end of the night. Which man do you think the woman at the next table is drawn to? Here's the truth. Women don't remember your wallet. They remember how you made them feel. Safe, seen, valued, grounded money may impress. But presence, integrity, and emotional strength make a lasting impact. Here's the truth. My friend money might get her attention, but what keeps her is you, not your bank account, not your car, not your status, but your mindsets, your presence, your stoic strength. Marcus Aurelius, never chairs.